Hey, what's up everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to get hit with the truth. So today we are doing the fantasy heavyweight rankings for the interactive tournament that I am hosting. And this video is going to look at my number 12 heavyweight based on a point system, the former two-time champion Ruslan Chagaev. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel, I really do appreciate any and all support that I can get as I continue to build my channel here. So, again, my tournament is going to begin very soon, where I'm breaking down all 32 fighters in the tournament, doing an individual video on each one, so you guys kind of have a background on each fighter, and you can make a proper pick whenever they fight each other in the tournament. And also to show some love to any guy that's become a world champion, whether it be by bullshit or legit, over the past 25 years. So this video is on former champion Ruslan Chagaev, former two-time champ. One of those title reigns was for the regular belt, the secondary title that the WBA came up with back in 2011. So that belt, in those matches, were given half points, not full points. But the other reign was very legit. He competed in a total of 8 title fights in those 2 reigns. So let's take a look at Valuev's career in the 2000s and go from there. He first came on the scene around 2006 when he defeated a British era fighter from that time, Michael Sprott. Sprott never really amounted to much in terms of top tier heavyweight talent, but he was one of those group of British heavyweights at the time that would fight each other. He was a good kind of gatekeeper type guy, and Chagaev broke him down and stopped him in the 8th round of their July 2006 bout. Well, then in November of 06, he got the biggest fight of his career to that point, as he would get an opportunity against former two-time heavyweight champion John Ruiz. Ruiz had held the title off and on for pretty much the last 6 years, or 5 years. He had finally lost it in 06 to Nikolai Valuev. So Ruiz was trying to bounce back into the picture against Chagaev, and everybody, because not a lot of people like John Ruiz, everybody that was a real boxing fan that knew the heavyweight division was overjoyed when Ruslan Chagaev defeated Ruiz by a 12-round split decision and became the WBA's mandatory #1 ranked contender. So after that, about 5 months later, he would get his mandatory title shot against undefeated Russian giant, 7 feet tall, Nikolai Valuev. This was, coming in, a lot of people were hopeful that Chagaev would pull off the upset because the Russian giant hadn't really impressed to that point. He narrowly defeated John Ruiz. Then he took on 3 American opponents and just kind of was lackluster in those performances. So a lot of people wanted to see, Valuev losing this one. But a lot of people thought because of his size it wouldn't happen. But Ruslan Chagaev put on the performance of his career, used his slick boxing style at only 6'1", and outworked the Russian giant, outboxed him to a 12-round majority decision as he captured the WBA heavyweight championship of the world. That win at that time elevated him immensely. He went on to defeat another British kind of veteran fighter, a little bit better than Michael Sprott, named Matt Skelton. He defeated him by a 12-round decision in January of 07. Or no, in January of 08, I'm sorry. But after that, he would be out of the ring for 13 months. Injuries kept him out. And then he was supposed to have a mandatory defense happening. He was named named the champion in recess, I think at that time, is what had went down. He was named a champion in recess. He would take on a guy named Carl Drummond, who was an undefeated American fighter and got a 6-round technical decision in February of 2009. And then he was supposed to have a mandatory defense against Nikolay Valuev in a rematch. But that fight would not come to fruition as some kind of test caused him to pull out of the fight with Valuev. And miraculously, though, he got a better opportunity. On about 2 weeks' notice, he got the opportunity to fight Vladimir Klitschko for the unified heavyweight title, as Klitschko held the IBF and WBO belts. At the time, this was considered to be the number 1 and number 3 heavyweights going at it. This is 2 of the top 3 because the Klitschko brothers were sitting at the top of the division, owning 3 of the 4 belts. So Chagaev coming in was considered to be the 3rd best heavyweight in the world. He tried as best he could, but Klitschko was just too good, and maybe the 2 weeks notice type thing affected Chagaev in this one because he couldn't keep up. He got stopped in the 9th round by Vlad, and that was all she wrote. But he bounced back. He tried to bounce back into the title mix. In 2010, he got 2 wins, defeating former world title challenger Kali Meehan by unanimous decision, then defeated a guy named Travis Walker. And that led to a 2011 vacant WBA regular championship matchup against undefeated Alexander Povetkin. Chagaev, had only the loss to Klitschko, so there was a lot of people that thought he was going to beat Povetkin in this one and claim the regular belt, as the WBA had come out with a regular belt, a secondary title, due to Vladimir Klitschko and David Haye unifying belts, and Klitschko being determined the super champion once he unified all the championships. Unified the 3 of the 4 titles. So this secondary title is somewhat of a legitimate belt. You might not consider it to be completely legitimate. I'm in agreement there, but it was deemed a legitimate title. But it didn't matter because he would lose this fight against Povetkin, getting outworked and out hustled, losing a 12-round unanimous decision. After that, he the next few years he went on a big a good winning streak. I think he won like 7 in a row, or 6 in a row. I'm sorry, no, it was 7. Yeah, 7 in a row. But after the 5th straight victory, the WBA still had him highly ranked, even though he was pretty much out of the top 10 at the time. And he got an opportunity to compete for the vacant title against Fresa Kendo, another older, faded Puerto Rican fighter. And he was able to outwork Fresa Kendo to capture the WBA regular belt by a 12-round majority decision. So it was a big win. He waited a year before defending the title. And then in July of 2015, he would take on Francisco Pianeta, who had only had 1 loss at the time to Vladimir Klitschko. And he actually knocked out Pianeta in the 1st round. And then about, 8 months later, he would take on undefeated Australian Lucas Brown and put up the best fight he could in that one. He was actually winning the fight on all cards before Lucas Brown stopped him in the 10th round. So, and that was all she wrote. That was it for Ruslan Chagaev. He would retire from boxing after that. That was his last fight. So overall, he went 5-3 in world title fights. And again, his losses to Vladimir Klitschko and Alexander Povetkin, 2 guys that are ranked higher than him on this list. Okay to lose to those guys. And remember, the Klitschko fight was on a couple weeks' notice. The knockout against Lucas Brown, he was already kind of faded and an older fighter, but he was winning that fight. So Ruslan Chagaev is a very good, slick southpaw fighter. A tough contender. Defeated Nikolay Valuev, had a win over John Ruiz, even though that was a non-title fight. Defeated Kali Meehan in a non-title fight. This guy was an accomplished fighter, and he's deserving of this ranking, whether you know him or not. I liked Ruslan Chagaev. I was very happy that he kind of stopped the John Ruiz train for the moment, and then he ended the reign of Nikolay Valuev, because Valuev was really boring the hell out of people at the time. kind of provided a spark. And again, he did end up having that. He was the third best heavyweight in the world behind the Klitschko brothers for a time there. So, so that's it. That's what I got. That's my number 12 heavyweight based on my point system for my fantasy heavyweight tournament rankings. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.